Hi everybody, my name is Andrew and welcome to my channel. A few years ago I decided that I wanted to start wearing bow ties, and so I took a trip to some stores and realized that bow ties are freaking expensive, and I thought I don't want to spend this much money on bow ties, but I still want to wear them, so I thought, why not learn how to make my own? And so that's what I want to show you today. To make a bow tie, you need a few different things. Of course, you need a sewing machine, which I have here. You'll need an iron, some pins, fabric. I like to use cotton fabric. I feel like it's the easiest for me to work with, and I'm not really trained in sewing. All I know how to make are curtains and bow ties. That's about it. So like straight line sewing is really all I can do. I need to work with fabric that's pretty forgiving. So you need fabric, like I said. You need some interfacings, and what else do you need? A pattern, and I like to make mine adjustable. The way that I do it, and this can be done a lot of different ways, I found these little slider things. They're clear plastic. They're actually, they're used when making like women's bras, but they just, when I sew them on, which I'll show you later, they're really easy to just slide back and forth so that you can make the tie longer or shorter depending on the width of whomever's neck is going to be wearing the tie. And that's all I really use. Today I'm going to be using this really fun fabric. It has pears and apples, and it's really has some really bright colors in it. I work in education, so it's kind of fun to have these bright colors, and apples are kind of like a school thing, right? First thing that I do is iron the fabric. Now that the fabric is ironed, I'm just going to flip it over and put the interfacing on this. As I'm laying this out, I'm realizing that I can probably cut the fabric at about here so that I'm not having a lot of waste with this, with the fabric and with the interfacing. So I probably will be able to get 2 ties out of this fabric, maybe. Let's see. So I just cover all of the fabric with the interfacing, and then take a wet piece of fabric. I've already gotten this one wet, and put the wet fabric over the interfacing and the fabric together, and then iron. In order to save the fabric and not have a lot of waste, I like to zigzag the pattern on the fabric, which makes it a little bit harder when you're cutting it out, but it does save fabric and interfacing. So it takes a little bit of time, but it saves materials and money. Now that the fabric and the interfacing are fused together and they're all cut out to size, I'm just going to line them all up with the pattern, and I'm going to pin them all together so I can cut them out all as one. This probably isn't like the right way to do it, but it's the way that I do it. So the next step in this process is, oh goodness, I'm now seeing that maybe trying to conserve some of the fabric wasn't the best choice because there are some funky little holes, but I think we can figure it out and work around it. The really great thing about making your own bow ties and telling people that you made them or that they're handmade or homemade is that if they're not perfect, I think that's great. It gives character to the ties, and It's also a really great way of not feeling bad about messing up your bow ties when you're making them. So now what you want to do is with the outside of the ties facing in on each other for 2 pieces, I'm going to pin them back together. And this just helps when you're sewing for them to not kind of slip and slide around and really get off center from one another. Okay, now that the fabric's cut out and pinned together, we're going to sew. The hardest part for me when I was learning how to make my own bow tie was turning these halves inside out, because of course what we're seeing right here is the inside of the bow tie, the part that you don't see, and I really struggled with figuring this out. There are 2 things that have worked for me, knitting needles and crocheting hooks. Many times when I use a knitting needle, I have poked through the fabric because knitting needles are a little bit sharper, so I find a crochet hook to be better because it's more dull on the edge right here on the end. But if you have knitting needles and no crocheting hooks, that's fine. Just be careful when you're using the knitting needle. So what you want to try to do is separate the 2 sides from one another like this, and then take the crocheting hook and kind of push it in. And usually I have to like press this up against my chest here, but you just kind of wiggle the fabric down like this. And then this crochet hook is really short, so it's going to be tricky, but it's okay. Keep pulling the edges. Eventually, the end of the bow tie here pokes out. And so you want to grab the fabric, pull the crochet hook or knitting needle out, and then just pull. And there you go. Now with a really long knitting needle, if you have one, or a chopstick or something, you just want to take the needle and poke it up through. And this way you can really push out the fabric and the seams, because right now it's all kind of folded in on itself. And this will allow you to get the bow tie shape. So that's it. That's how you make a bow tie. So here's my completed bow tie. I think it looks pretty cool. It's really fun. Lots of bright colors, those apples and the pears. The pattern is kind of big for a bow tie, but it's still small enough where you can tell that it's apples and pears. What I really love about using patterns like this is that it's basically 4 different ties. No matter which way you tie the tie, it will look different. It makes the tie really versatile. Having these 4 different sides of the bow tie makes it really fun to have this. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know if you have any questions. Don't forget to like this video and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye.